Welcome back. Welcome back is all I have.
Yeah, that's all I have. And this, I cannot believe we're making this video right now. Like, when this happened, I'm sure everyone's going to see by the title. When I saw this happen, or when this did happen, I was so many emotions, but felt so bad, you know.
Yeah, very concerned.
Very concerned, I felt so bad. I honestly couldn't believe it. It's the new normal almost now, but I just couldn't believe it. Truly heartbreaking. So, hello everyone, how's it going? So we're going to talk a little bit about Viv's injury that just happened, and we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, this conversation we've been having around ACL issues in women's football. A little bit about that as well. So, how's it going? Arsenal had a game against Lyon on the 15th. So, Arsenal is a Champions League game. Viv, since she has been back from taking a little extended time off, she has played the last 4 games. She has scored in all 4 of them. 4 for 4. 4 games, 4 goals. She's been playing so well, so confident. So, that break really did her a lot of good. And it seemed like she has, you know, the focus back, and she looked like, you know, we always say, her old self. Arsenal actually had a pretty good looking half, their first half. And then about the 44th minute, it just was a wild sequence of events, the things that happened. But we're going to start, I guess we'll start at like the 44th minute. I guess we're going to put this in here because I actually thought it was an interesting interaction, but it really doesn't have anything to do with the overall story, except for what led to everything. So in the 44th minute, there was actually a little... It looked like Katie McCabe thought that DVD had maybe fouled, but then the ref let it go. And then Katie McCabe got into like a little...
Looks like could you call that a little tiff, maybe?
A little tiff with DVD.
Something low.
Like, yeah, and I don't know their history. I'm assuming,
fight.
You know, they're teammates for a long time. I'm assuming they're friends, but on the field, no one's friends.
Enemies. The other team is the enemy.
Yeah, so they kind of got a little pushing match. And like I said, this has nothing to do with Viv's injury or anything, but I thought it was an interesting sequence of events. And I mean, that little pushy fight, McCabe's ready to take on everyone on the team.
So is DVD.
So is DVD, exactly. So
love to see the passion.
Exactly. So right after that led to extra time, but the ball was in Lyon's way. So that directly, I think, led to the goal that was scored, the only goal of the match, which was Lyon scored. They credited it to as an own goal off Monum. So that was in the 45th minute. Just 2 minutes later, this is where things kind of go horribly, horribly wrong.
Go awry,
yeah. So I'll play it on the screen, but, you know, they are in the very last minutes of extra time. It's 3 minutes of extra time. And then in the third...
damn minutes of extra time.
If you look, Viv looks like she goes for the ball. I'll play it. And she just looks like she twists her knee in such a way that's like an unnatural twist. And that was kind of it, you know. At first, I thought it was her right knee because the way she like extended her right leg. But I mean, by the second look of it, I see that it's her left leg / knee that looks
like she drags it and twists it.
Yeah,
in an awkward way.
Yes. So my question is, if she would have actually made contact with that first, would it have dragged that second way and kind of gone a little? I mean, that's a question too. So it was just a horrible, horrible moment. Because the moment she kicks, misses, and the other knee kind of gives out, she goes down. And I mean, immediately she goes down. She grabs her, grabs her leg and then just lies there. And it looks bad. It looks very bad, as you can see.
Yeah, she's not moving. Not a good sign.
Not moving. And it just looks horrible from the get-go. And even the commentators say at that moment, you know, it doesn't look good. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't look good. Yep. Because a lot of times with ACL tears or ruptures, it's not a contact kind of injury. It's not like you make contact with somebody. So they say. I was reading a little bit about it. And correct me if I'm wrong as well. So she goes down. I might have done a voiceover at the very beginning of this video because we didn't mention it. But at this point, it is 8 o'clock at night on the 16th at our time, which is
U.S.
Central Time. There has not been an official update. So we do not know officially if it's a rupture, a tear, a partial rupture, a partial tear. We do not know any official diagnoses. The only thing Jonas did say was right after the match, he goes, "We don't have an update." That was yesterday. And then I saw this online on Twitter.
ACL injuries are most often always non-contact. There's external rotation of the foot while the knee goes from extension to flexion. Typically a cruciate injury, which would involve the medial collateral ligament. Surgery should not be recommended initially.
Yeah, don't you remember Kristen Press did her ACL and she didn't have surgery right away.
Yeah.
I guess that's pretty standard. But we don't know officially. And by the time this video comes out, there may have been an update, and we'll kind of update it as we know too. But right there, Viv's down, and she's down. Even like DVD, who's obviously her teammate on the Netherlands team, is over there making sure she, consoling her. I mean, everyone is just so concerned because it just doesn't look good from get-go, where the body was just so awkward. So she lays there for a good 5 minutes or so. I mean, it's a good amount of time. The stretcher comes out and she leaves on a stretcher immediately. And if you remember, when Beth Mead ruptured her ACL, remember, she walked off the field. And I was surprised that she walked off the field when Beth went off, just because I don't know if you can make it worse. Maybe you can't, maybe you can. But the fact that Viv was in so much pain and, they didn't even move her at all. And so they wheel her off. And then also, I believe Beth Mead was either sitting up in the stands or she was sitting not on the sidelines where the people who are on the sublist sit. I think she was, so someone said she actually came down. So if you look right here, you can actually see her. She's right there on the sidelines with her crutches. And obviously she's
concerned.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously she has just been through this. So to have her partner, teammate go through this too, I mean, it is very heartbreaking, upsetting. And so we do not know an injury. Actually, someone left a good comment yesterday on our video, because this had just happened when our video about Dansby and Mal came out. They said,
did you guys see Viv Miedema's horrible injury last night against Lyon? It happened right in front of where I was sitting, and it was the most emotional thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, so this person was there, and they saw the whole entire thing. I mean, from TV it looked that intense, but being there, being right in front of it,
intense.
Seeing Viv come off the stretcher, or coming off on the stretcher, I mean, it was horrible. We don't have an update right now. We don't, most people I saw on Twitter and, around the web think it does look like an ACL tear rupture. And I even saw this doctor on Twitter saying it was definitely ACL, or, it was ACL, but I'm just some random, verified doctor.
Oh, was it Dana Scully?
No.
I'm a medical doctor.
It wasn't Dana Scully from X-Files. No.
Okay, not X-Files.
It was another medical doctor.
Not an X-File.
But, I think most people think that's probably what will happen. And again, I know, again,
sad.
Just happened to Beth, and you think, for Arsenal, this is horrible. I mean, they were en route to win the league. They were en route to win titles, trophies, so much. And this just puts that in doubt. Obviously, they have so much talent on Arsenal. Also, there is a January transfer window, and they could get more talent with Viv and Beth out for extended periods of time. So that's just heartbreaking.
Who's put a curse on women?
I know.
And ACL tears or knees and, just injuries.
I know.
Who's doing this?
And then also that dreaded, 7 months out from the World Cup? I mean, if it's an ACL tear, you're not recovering in time for that. Beth,
no one's winning the World Cup this year, guys.
I know.
It's a wash.
Yeah, I know. Beth Mead possibly could be there, but if this is an ACL rupture, I don't see any way Viv's going to the World Cup. None. Zero. It could be a partial rupture. We don't know, but it does not look good.
I'm crying.
And also, Viv got COVID for the Euros, and she
Poor Viv,
put
man.
her body on the line at the Euros, and now this for her, I'm gutted for her.
Mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
It hurts, man. So, Hedvig Lindahl, their Swedish goalie, they tweeted, I haven't heard what kind of injury Miedema suffered, but I do feel like we see a lot of big names affected by serious injury lately. Anyone got research? Are there more than usual? Is it time to have a real discussion about how to protect the players? Speedy recovery, Viv.
Okay, so yes.
So that's what she says.
A lot of people have been talking about that. In the last year, so many ACL, Alexis Putellas, Kristen Press, Beth Mead now, Ellie Carpenter, so many high-profile players have been affected by specifically ACL. I just came across this article, and to be honest, I don't know the validity at Sky Sports, which is a reputable publication, but we're going to read through this, and I thought there were some interesting comments in this because it kind of gave people reasons why possibly there could be. So we're going to read this, and we're going to see what you guys think with this article.
Inside the WSL, why are ACL injuries so common in women's football? Female footballers are up to 6 times more likely to suffer an ACL injury. Alexis Putellas missed Euro 2022 after rupturing her ACL days before Spain's first match. England and Arsenal forward Beth Mead may miss the World Cup with an ACL injury. Female footballers are up to 6 times more likely to suffer an ACL injury more than their male counterparts, and Inside the WSL sat down with players, physios, and doctors to try to find out why. Unfortunately, it's not an uncommon sight to see women's club announce a player will be sidelined with a ruptured ACL. England and Arsenal forward Beth Mead has suffered an ACL injury which puts her World Cup participation in doubt, while her Gunners teammate Viviana Miedema appears to have picked a similar injury this week, though yet it is to be confirmed by the club. France striker Marie-Antoinette Catoto also limped off in a second group game against Belgium, having also ruptured her ACL. She had been one of the favorites to win the Euro 2022 Golden Boot. You could keep reeling off the names of female players who have gone through the long process of ACL rehabilitation, but as yet, very little scientific research has been done into why women are more likely to suffer the injury than men. There are theories such as menstrual cycles, playing a key role, although as yet, there hasn't been enough research to support it. Speaking to Inside the WSL, female health specialist Dr. Emma Ross explained, "We know female athletes are up to 6 times more likely to have a non-contact ACL injury than their male counterparts. I published a paper about a year ago which showed that in sport and exercise science research, only about 6% of the studies are done exclusively on females, meaning they study things that are happening to the female body, so we don't have a lot of research on female athletes. But what we do know about the menstrual cycle and injury is that the changing hormones across the cycle can impact the physiology and biomechanics of the body. For example, when estrogen is elevated in the menstrual cycle, and that happens in the second week, it can affect the stability of the joints. It can interfere with the collagen in our joints, and it can create looser, more lax joints. A loose joint is therefore less stable and more inclined to injury." Another thing in this world against women. What the heck, science? So we do have some information about loose joints, but what we don't have is the end step of whether that really does increase the risk for injury in female athletes. Arsenal women physio Gary Lyon also agrees that menstrual cycles can play a part in the increase in ACL injuries. He said, "In general, I would say there's a link. What the link is, we haven't found out definitively that I know of. There's some assumptions and different phases of a menstrual cycle that lead to different levels of fatigue, coordination, which could result in a loss of power. That could be linked to the cause of them rupturing their cruciate, but women's sports needs more research in general because a lot of the research is based on men's sports." Another thing I found in the short time that I've been in women's football is that there's a thing called osteochondral defect, I think that's how you say it, which is where the bone gets involved and there's degeneration of the bone. For me, there's a factor in women's football where this occurs more regularly than we know. Again, there's an area that I'd like to research and that can be linked with cruciate injuries. Report author Dr. Catherine Oakham-Krieger points out women's feet differ from men's in shape and volume, and said there's a risk of injury from ill-fitting boots which can squeeze the foot in unwanted places.
Oh, that's an interesting thing because I know they probably overall make boots for men's feet, even though I know these professional athletes all have probably custom-made boots. I'm guessing. I actually don't know, but that's actually something very interesting as well.
I believe it.
Okay, so I did want to read that part And there was a little more information about just kind of about women and ACLs in that article. Maybe I'll link it down below. But a few medical professionals, even one from Arsenal, thinks the menstrual cycle does have an effect on why they're getting ACL tears in particular. I mean, the overall gist I also get from this article is there's just not enough research. I mean, that could be an educated guess, but the numbers aren't necessarily there to support it based on the research, because how they come up with factual things is enough research, enough case studies, enough groupings and research.
Well, can't they get a grant or something and start doing research, write some papers on this, some journal articles?
Right. I don't know how that works out when it comes to just female only research, if it's a funding thing, but it sounds like the research needs to be there. But it just seems like I don't know, this is almost like, oh, it's because women get their periods, that's why they're not as strong. It almost seems like a down. Like it sounds like a put down.
A little sexist.
Yeah. I'm not saying it
Low-key.
is, but it almost feels like a put down. Oh, you get your period, that's why you're gonna get an ACL tear more likely than your male counterpart.
Oh, dear.
But I did think that article was interesting, because like we were reading, it could be about the boots, it could be about other things, but the first part of that article was about the menstrual cycle. So
we need to ask Scully. She would know the answer to this.
So I was kind of surprised. I was just kind of surprised at that. I don't know why I was surprised, but
you'd be surprised what's connected in the body with internal things with external things, or whatever,
Exactly.
Like true. A is connected to X to the YZ to the 20th power times L.
I'll link that. This is a pretty long and involved article. I will link it down below because it talks about kind of the myths of the period too. But to have some medical professionals saying yes, it's just interesting stuff. I saw on Twitter, it said cold night, it was a very cold night and a hard surface, and that's all it takes. And then actually Viv talked about it herself and someone left a good comment too about the facilities, especially like the facilities for recovery or just physios, staff in general for the women's players, just limited, so you're not going to get the highest level like the men do. And so the women aren't going to get the recovery they need, the facilities, everything like that. So could a small portion be the menstrual cycle? Maybe, but it seems like it's more like the resources and facilities that the women have are just not top notch. So it could be that. I guess there'd be an interesting conversation for men with bad facilities too, like lower leagues that don't have good facilities. You know what I mean?
I'm sure they're much better than the women's anyway.
That's true.
Little kitties are getting top notch.
I know. But what does everyone think? Also, this was the last game of 2022 for Arsenal. And it did not end on a good. They ended up losing 1-0. That goal from DVD / the own goal was the only goal of the match, and they ended up losing. So it was not good. Yeah. And also kind of the idea of, Viv and Beth are now in this together. Partners now off the field. They're going to be doing rehab together. Even depending if Viv's injury isn't an ACL, he's going to have to recover. Man. So, I hate to say that, it's almost like comforting, like not comforting, like I'm glad this happened, but if you're gonna be injured, to have your partner right there knowing exactly what you're going through, that's comforting to feel that someone knows exactly what I'm going through.
Yes, have the moons aligned a little too well?
I know.
Have they unaligned
exactly.
a little too well?
Good, couldn't have said it better. Exactly.
I don't know astronomy.
Because, they're going to go through this together, and it's, it just sucks. Sucks for both of them, but especially sucks for Viv, because if it's ACL, I don't think there's any chance she's going to the World Cup. What does everyone think? Well, their thing is just ridiculous that it's about facilities, not about periods, which I'm more facilities than periods.
No, I'm speechless.
What does everyone think? Questions, comments down below. And like I said, if there is an update, we'll either do like a voiceover or we'll just do another video the next time we record. So when it comes out. But just hoping the best news for Viv. I mean, that's all, we are hoping for that, but we will see.
Speedy recovery.
Yeah, hopefully
Viv.
good news. We'll talk to everyone later. Have a great night. Bye.